And here we are again. This time I will keep to this. I always always I will try to keep to it. It's my life story beginning in 1975 when Carter had been precious, holy, humanistic to the point of being among the very few league of people. Jimmy Carter became president, and new possibilities arose. From that viewpoint of humanism, at a time of relative calmness, economically and every otherwise, seemingly across the world. So this first part of my autobiography is tired now. As we call a periscope up, viewing the island feast days from a submarine sandwich distance. An inquiry into altruistic chaos by Paul Bedard. And there we have it. Life as it long ago transpossessed. In the tumult and the functory final analysis. The promise, circa 1975, of a circular gyroflow between Nixon Watergate dilemma and the too good, honest, and human mercified man to lead his homeland. And he really was. So good, some men, that they don't, or women, that, I don't know, presidency that it just isn't fit for them. And specified him too good to lead his homeland, holding so much as a battle, the holding of so much as a battle-ready candle into war, an agony privy to the worldwide bounty hunt, transistor, radio, potato hour. He came to office ill-prepared to, in any way, invest his time thereupon. This is true. I can still call to mind most vividly, sitting behind Lisa, the prettiest girl in history class, as the white bloused teacher arranged in domino theory 7-Eleven perspective the swank in certain likelihood of a countrywide Baptist revival altitude of middle class yelpings. And my adolescent years began to mustachio across the Milky Way, his hidey ho way to heaven. At the time, of course, I was living in my parents' rustic homestead, and as the case was, I, upon returning home each weekday, mought to leap into some science fictive delight prepared by those authors whose lives I gassed and gulled in attic lofts, slightly sociologically buttonholed, to be a schizophrenic prenumble delooped Catley Sill Milkable Wade. They were all schizo, and it was that, in the midst of these current years, prepossessing and wonder-bred Catholic schooling tryst, 1975 until 1978, which seemed to for a form of circular coming back into itself. I would class those years as being self-contained, and then this 1979 would kind of this into Reagan in 1980. 1975 to 1978, now under my festive literary examination. That I, once or twice, chaperoned by my 10 months younger brother and my own self still relatively young parents. As a unit, our own life struggles were thermodynamically intensified by a town-wide loop deluxe leap into being the most unpopular family in town, without evident explanation as would become us. Yet we wanted and needed enjoyment to respect and love to be Trisket of Tusk and Trim. So, anyway, we all four of us, that is, attended my first high school dance. And in my 14-year-old eyes, that night were bigger than my looping bells, although not directly en route to them. They were directly en route to them, for one blind girl whose face I remained that entire year in love with to no end. I wanted to plant butterfly kisses everywhere she would allow, and whenever I found myself close to her, my legs turned to ice and the neurotransmitters jumped with love jobblies. There is a certain type of love there's that year that is different from adult love, of course, and it's more inclined to shyness and nervousness, and but it is a form of love. And I can remember that for one girl especially. And I saw her at the Union. My friends and me were all going to a movie, and she was there at the Union, just looking at her. What I felt for her was indeed love, and I felt it in adolescent terms also, according to that age, for the girl with the prettiest eyes in freshman class, especially as they did in a compassionate jubilee of festive joy in life. The first dance found my want just one dance with any one of these girls, but I was shaking like a locomotive jumping jack. Soon after, I would envelope myself round with my first nimble footsteps into vinyl musings of poetry. And it was then that it was at that time that the OCD hadn't yet started, but it was probably 3 or 4 months around the corner. And as I think now back, it's so sad that they were. And I will never understand, but I think other people may know more things than I know. That why certain people you see in life are so happy and enjoying life and innocent and naive themselves, but yet they're so hated by other people. And I'm talking about destruction of the whole family unit. And what I know and what I see, as compared to what other people might know more and see more or less, and actually misinterpret everything, and add to an even crueler element, hard to deal with by me, who's the only one left, as to the memory of how much they enjoyed life and had a look of enjoyment and wanting to do good things, and but they were selfish in other ways. Well, one was selfish, I think, for reasons that can never be explained. The other was selfish because he was an only child himself. He was spoiled rotten. And it was some of the dynamics in his family that gave him a bad hand to deal himself right from the start. He had no way of winning. And he turned into a very unlikable person. He was born in 1931, and my mother was born in 1932. I was born in 1961. My brother, was born in 1962, and I think my brother really got the worst of it. Who I never was able to comfort in any way, never allowed to comfort in any way while he was still alive. I think he got the worst of it because he got the least amount of life. And I can remember him in first grade coming home from school and just jumping up the stairs with joy and happiness. And then years later, the things he had to go through were unimaginable. So, but I will be back tomorrow. I gotta try to sleep now. I need another 3 hours to be totally functional tomorrow. Then I will deal with the problem I face tomorrow, which is unnecessary to be a problem I'll have to face. Really, there's no reason for it as far as I can see. Uh, but I have to deal with it, and I have the money to overcome it, but I don't have the necessary uh, the necessary understanding of my situation and the joy and the sorrow I get from writing from people who are trying to help me seem to put everything in an opposite perspective, thinking that what will help me would to be a detriment, what is a detriment will help me. But you just need one thing really to set the day off in a joyous romp of uh, festive beginning to end. And if everything succeeds well, I have my necessary monetary parallax of dynamo, diamond, Alaskan gold rush already prepared, and maybe a brief walk that is just spine adjustable. That I will once it's applicated to my person, it lasts a very long time. Oh, please don't make a moral issue out of it. Whoever's listening, within the diameter of the CCBC of plumbings and plumings and the people at the high spots. Will phone message the people at the lower points of commerce, and it'll all be arranged. Hopefully, that things will go well. Signing off, Paul Bedard, and next we will go into the OCD, the years of the three confluent spiritual processes, the high and disgusting abuses of Father Dunn. I would say his name particularly, I think, in that instance. In those times, I think it was John Paul Joe, not, John, Pope John Paul, not the bass player, Pope John Paul, who was the Pope. It had his own certain kind of beauty about him and his own certain kind of uh, intolerance and vulnerability. I think people were very worried about him. Everybody was when his illness got to a point where it was so bad, and the days what I remember when and the jobs I had in those years. I would go through the whole. It'd be a book on audio. I have the book written, and I put it at the library. You say it. So I must now retire to radio and sleepings. Good night, everybody.